For trophy and achievement hunters out there, the only thing they fear more than one being broken is, well, one being solely based on random number generators. RNG is totally necessary for some games, and can actually help alleviate a lot of the workload for devs. But we just need to get RNG away from trophy and achievements, full stop. But random numbers aren't the only thing standard between trophy and achievement hunters, as sometimes tracking on these can be simply broken as well, and then waiting for others to pop can just be pot luck. So with this list, we'll attempt to shine some light on those that play hard to get, and that will really ruin your day. Beware of these ones, or at least make sure you've got a decent podcast lined up. I'm Ben Roy from WhatCulture.com, and this is 8 video game trophies totally based on luck. Number 8, Breakthrough, DOKI Literature Club Plus. Now in a visual novel, this would be the last place you'd expect RNG to rear its ugly face, but it does. And thanks to the unique approach that Doki takes, we got a taste of it here, with everything taking a bit of a turn for the worst around the end of the first act. Once everything starts breaking down and corruption sets in thanks to Monica, players will then be able to attain the Breakthrough trophy, which requires them to get 100% data collection. But to do that, one piece of art is left up to chance. This being the ghost menu, which for some will pop by sheer luck, and for others, well, it's going to require opening and closing the game maybe 100 times. There is a 1.56% chance of getting this, and the only way for it to ever pop is by entering Act 2. So as I just said, get ready to open and close Doki a lot. Number 7. Roller 15, Monopoly Streets. Is there a greater game left up to chance out there than one with a dice roll? Honestly, there might not, and in Monopoly Streets, the devs threw a cheeky little trophy in there, which left players hanging on RNG in its most refined form. Now at first this might be a confusing trophy to earn, what if the conventional dice only having 6 sides, and each dice being from 1 to 6? And these are Monopoly dice after all, not some crazy Dungeon and Dragon dice, which have far too many sides, let's be honest. Basically, to even get anywhere near achieving this one, players must turn on the speed dice rule before starting the game, then roll 2 6s on the regular dice and a 3 on the speed one. This is the only way to get a 15, and from there you've just got to keep rolling the dice over and over again. It could be 100 rolls, it could be 1. Number 6. Master Assassin, PUBG Battlegrounds. Next up is a trophy that might seem more daunting than something left up to chance. But then just ask anyone who's played PUBG for any length of time and they'll inform you just how all over the place tracking for this game is. From weapon stats to kills, even after the beta closed, it's been all over the place. PUBG landed hot and still had a wide range of bugs to iron out in the early days, which punished most players for trying to get trophies. As killing 2,000 players by any means was no small feat in a video game, let alone in a battle royale. And even some of the smaller ones like killing 10 with a crossbow, that seemed like it would take forever. And then just don't get me started on Nade King Master, okay? After having their stats wiped several times in the early days of PUBG, meant that nobody had a clue what they were doing, or how many kills they actually had, unless you kept a page of notes on your phone. Even in the present day with the game being somewhat stable, it could still be left up to chance if a kill's registered or not. Chicken dinner hunters are gonna have to put a lot of hours into this one. Number 5. Lucky Winner, BIOSHOCK. Sometimes the best games of all time just have one trophy out there that doesn't need to exist. One that does nothing for the game and can hold players from getting their sacred platinum. Now it's kind of okay if these are down to difficulty like in The Last of Us Part 1, which had 100 difficulty trophies, or in BIOSHOCK that requires you to beat the game without using a Vita chamber. But then again in BIOSHOCK, there was also one trophy that came totally down to luck. Hitting a jackpot on a slot machine located in the early section of Fort Frolic will give many trophy hunters a bad day. But just like many slot machines in real life, it's all down to luck. That or a massive stack of loose change. Oh, and don't worry, the player's money can even run out before this is unlocked, so be sure to save the game before attempting this one. To put it in perspective, this trophy is almost as rare as beating the game on hard. But then again for some, it unlocked just after a few spins. This trophy could really turn into someone's white whale, as they waste their time in Rapture trying to become the lucky winner. Number 4. Benevolent Leader, Fallout 4. When it comes to seemingly easy video game trophies being tied to random numbers, Fallout 4 is one of the worst offenders of all time. Yeah, sure, other games might be just down to luck, but the Benevolent Leader one is something else entirely. No one was asking for settlement building to be added to Fallout. In fact, it was probably the last thing on their minds. They just wanted a game that would run at a stable frame rate and not crash constantly. But little did we all know this was going to be the precursor to Fallout 76. Rewinding back to the Benevolent Leader trophy though, know, this requires players to get their settlement up to the maximum state of happiness, which might seem simple enough, but there's one problem here. There's no exact science to it. All the player can do is overbuild and hope the happiness is boosted up, as they just wait around. There seems to be no formula to it, and happiness will eventually peak for a brief moment, unlocking the painful trophy. Number 3. Fast Zombies. Stubbs the Zombie. Here is another trophy that shouldn't be left up to chance, but just is thanks to a few extra hurdles. Requiring players to essentially speedrun the game, the Fast Zombies trophy asks the player to beat the game in less than 2 hours, which isn't unnecessarily a hard task. This can only be achieved by beating the game in one single run, so no save-ins and no turning it off and coming back the next day. Kinda reminds me of another game that's going to show up on this list. Now even after that added caveat, 2 hours in one sitting isn't that demanding, and this one shouldn't be that hard to earn. But let's just say Stubbs the Zombie isn't the most stable game out there. So not only do players have to have an excellent memory, but they need to be patient in hopes that they don't push Stubbs too far, to the point where it falls apart. And not even Stubbs himself, but the game crashing. Stubbs is meant to fall apart. He takes off his own head and uses the thing as a bowling ball. And when most players will experience these crashes at least once, as they stumble through this game, this trophy just simply isn't worth the effort. Number 2. Rock Portal Scissors, Portal 2. Time for another silly entry here that yes can be easily cheated, but is also actually totally down to luck. Dating all the way back to the Chinese Han Dynasty of 206 BCE to 220 CE, rock, paper, scissors has been played in one form or another for quite a long time now. And thanks to the excellent multiplayer mode in Portal 2, this game, which is almost as old as humankind, lives on in light-hearted fashion. And the parameters of this trophy is simple. It simply requires the player to win 3 games of rock, paper, scissors in a row. Now the odds of winning the first game is already 1 in 3, but dividing that up by 3 separate games, and the odds are really against the player here. Unless they're using a friend to cheat, their only hope will be finding a kind-hearted soul who will let you earn this one freely. Or they're gonna have to find some cake to brag their way out of this one, or rely on the truest form of luck. And number 1, Ascending the Mountain. Now of course there needs to be at least one roguelike on this list, and there was no better fit for the top spot than Sony's biggest first party PS5 title, Returnal, with so many of the trophies on this list being left up to luck itself. And honestly, half of its list could feature on here. We could just do a list of Returnal trophies, but for the sake of it, we'll go with Ascending the Mountain, as at the time of this video being recorded, it's one of the rarest trophies on the list. Normally in games, collectible trophies are pretty easy to get, but thanks to Returnal being randomly generated, there's no clear guide for this one. This trophy requires players to get all the ciphers, scout logs, and archives in that area. Unlike every other Sony first-party title of late, this makes Returnal surprisingly hard to platinum, with it having no save system and locking players in for hours before they can beat a run. To beat Returnal, let alone earn this trophy as a badge of honor, or proof that trophy hunters just have too much time on their hands. And that's our list. That's 8 video game trophies that are totally based on luck. Can you think of any more? I'm sure you can, so let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And while you're down there, follow us on Twitter at WCulture Gaming, and follow me at BenRoyTurner. And on Instagram as well, why not? Anyway, until next time, no more games.